Hey guys, welcome back to the weekly watch list where we go over all of the given setups, earnings, news, as well as what we're looking going into Monday and going through to the rest of the week. Starting off with earnings this week, we're going to look at nothing hugely significant this week. I have two key point makes to make of AMD and Alphabet. Aside from those two stocks, though, not really going to be anything significant. Amazon, but that's kind of a subpar stock on its own right. We don't really like to trade that too much unless it gives a big quality setup, which isn't all the time. But just to be aware of, Amazon, Amazon, AMD, and Google this week. We did have a decent Google setup at 205.50 cents. However, with that, I'm likely going to skip it. It was a side watch, but it was a nice level. If it comes this week, I'm more than likely, like I said, going to skip it because of earnings. Going into news this week, honestly, the news is pretty slow, which is good. It allows us to have less, odd volume increases and fluctuations out of nowhere, basically irregular volume, if you will. So going into Monday, we do have at 9:45 final manufacturing PMI. At 10 a.m. we have ISM manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing prices, and then construction spending. And then all day we have awards, total vehicle sales. 12:30 we have FOMC member Bostic speaks. At Tuesday, at 10 a.m. we do have JOLTS job openings and factory orders MM. Tentative, we have RCM tip economic optimism. At 11 a.m. we have FOMC member Bostic speaks. And then at 1:15 we have FOMC member Daily speaks. Okay. Wednesday, we do have at 8:30 a.m. trade balance. 9 a.m. FOMC member Barkin speaks. 9:45 we have final services PMI. At 10 a.m. we have ISM services PMI. And then at 10:30 a.m. we have crude oil inventories. Thursday, we have at 7:30 Challenger job cuts. 8:30 a.m. we have unemployment claims, prelim non-farm productivity, and prelim unit labor cost. At 10 a.m. we have IVPMI, and 10:30 we have natural gas shortage. Okay. Friday, we have at 8:30 a.m. Average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and unemployment rate. At 9:25 we have FOMC member Bowman speaks. This is going to be a big one because this is at 9:25 on a Friday, so 5 minutes before open. This is going to probably cause some pretty big movement, more likely. 10 a.m. is going to be USD prelim consumer sentiment and inflation expectations, and then final wholesale inventories. 12 p.m. FOMC member Kugler speaks. 3 p.m. consumer credit. Okay, so that's going to be all the news this week. Again, that's going to be Friday. It's going to be one of those more prominent points. 5 minutes before open. However, it's just something to keep an aware of, and keep an eye out, and be aware of here, given the fact that it is Friday that day. Going to the actual levels this week. Starting with, as always, going to start with the markets here. Levels I have are 6,056.50 at just a local support pivot point, 6,051.50, and then 6,042.55, or sorry, 6,042.25, and then 6,033 below that. Obviously, we have a pretty notable sell-off sentiment this week, so it's going to be a negative bias. As far as I can tell, I think we're going to get continuation. We might get a pretty notable bounce here. But based off the current conditions that I'm reading, I only see continuation of the downside here in this current instance, in this situation. Likewise, that transverses over here to NQ as well. Looking at the 21,550 level right here, to see a closure below is going to definitely affirm and confirm what it is I'm saying with the bias to the downside, and see that with continuation to the downside, and not just see a rejection, reversal to the upside. As well with that. So if I'm looking at levels here this week, again, just looking at downside, I'm not really going to go over upside. I'm looking at 21,541.50, 21,512.50, 21,498.75, 21,472.50, and then 21,439.75. Again, these are just local areas of support. Just structuring off of basic theory, how this works is understanding basic rejection pivot points and support areas. You can see that showcase those things. If they crack, and especially if they have a closure, then they're going to typically indicate continuation and follow through. They're significant levels. That's what we call key levels, right? For any new people. Going to this watch list this week, my main watch is going to be consisting of Tesla, Nvidia, Meta, and Apple. So starting off alphabetically, Apple. Apple is going to be at at the 233 level I'm looking at here, as marked with the purple line. 233 is going to be the more really significant level here. I'm looking at more than anything, going to 232.15 as my initial target. If I were to look for a final target, it would be 230 for sure. However, I don't typically hold that long because of the lack of continuation that Apple does like to have a lot of the time. More so, really, it's going to be The issue with the fact that more variables have to be going right for a longer period of time in order for this to actually to hit target. So I don't like to be in that long. That's why I'm a scalper, because I understand what all variables it takes sometimes in order to allow for continuation and setups to occur. So even if my setup is weaker, then I still might get a reversal rejection if the market is doing its own thing enough to negatively affect the direction that I'm playing in my bias on that setup. Okay, so Apple, looking at, said 233 down to 215 as my initial sell of probably half, and then 230 is my final target for the remainder of my contracts. Going into my second watch is going to be Meta. Meta, I'm looking at upside and downside. Matter of fact, 710 to the upside with a target of 715. I might take it as a separate trade at 715, honestly. There, and then target the 716, 17-cent all-time high level. But it's really going to just come down to kind of the level of divergent strength this has and the type of setup that I end up seeing here. So this is kind of going to basically just be a more idea of what I end up seeing in the given conditions of the market at the given moment. It's going to be really the defining factor on how I decide to take this, okay? That's upside, 710. 709, 97 would be likely the entry, and then 710 would be target for that. And then, like I said, 715 would be probably either a second target or a totally separate setup with a second target of 716, 17. Again, that's probably going to be later in the week if we do get it. Again, I think we are setting up downside here, and I don't think upside is going to be a present factor for at least the first part of the week. Okay, 680 is going to be my main level here. Watch on the on Meta here. Again, we're following downside bias. Can't stress it enough. So we're going to a more untested area, as you can see on volume profile. This is untested. It starts to elevate here, obviously, with the density being 680. However, this is, like I said, to start in correlation and tie in with the market. So to see a sell-off here to me, the reversal or rejection likelihood is low as long as volume is there. And so that's why this setup to me is justified, because it's basically we're going from straight upside to now we're starting the downside. And 680 is a good level. Now, 685 was a consideration on my end for sure. However, I just don't think 685 is going to hold up before market open Monday. I think it's going to break by then, 100%. At some point, I don't know by how much, but I definitely think it will. We're already literally 18 cents off, and it's Saturday evening, right? So it's going to likely be gone by the time Monday morning approaches, and 680, if not 680, 675 as the level. But 680 would my main level, and 671 10 cents would be my first and primary target. I'd probably sell a third right at the break, if not half, just to secure profit, and then have a second target of 676 10 cents as my final target on this trade. All right. Going into my next setup is going to definitely be NVIDIA. I like NVIDIA at the 115 downside level. Upside, there's definitely some considerations for sure. I just think it's a little oversaturated now at this point. You can see the amount of levels I have here. This kind of tells you and emphasizes that point. It just further showcases that there already is a lot of kind of overusage and oversaturation here. So for me, I personally like the 115 level. I mean, the volume density is almost non-existent there, and we haven't been this low in, ever really on the share value. I'm sure we have, but it's just it hasn't been there in a long time. Right? So I'm looking at 115 here personally. It just looks really good on every time frame. We do have an uptrend here that we are closing below on the 1 hour that I really like that closure. If we can see continuation, I highly anticipate this being on Monday morning occurring and being ready to go. Like I said, I'm looking to take this probably pretty close, 115.50 cents, maybe 116. That's a little far. It just kind of depends on that divergent weakness we get. What I'm always looking for is that divergence to really identify personal strength per equity. So if this equity is particularly more weak and divergent in its weakness than the market, and ahead of the market in that sense, then I might for sure consider it an early entry, because it's not necessarily early, then it's correct. It's the right entry, right? I always say never think about what's an early or late entry. Think about where's the right entry on a given high quality setup like this. So 115 would be the level. 114.36 would be my initial target. Again, I always like to take half off at the break, secure profit, especially if I'm up nicely 10 to 15% already. Why? I'm saying take additional risk. Secure 10, 15 right off, and then just sell the remainder, maybe 20% at 114.36 or the 114, right? So that's going to be NVIDIA. And then my final watch on my main watch is going to be Tesla. All right, so Tesla, I'm personally looking at the upside here. Upside, I do like 420. There is downside for sure. I definitely do like downside on this. However, downside is kind of quite far away. I might say, for me, where I like it, like the 380 level would probably be the earliest I consider this, and even there is a little bit oversaturated. But 380, we're at 402, so 20 points away. I think that Tesla's divergent in its strength to the market relation. So personally, I think Tesla's definitely going to rebound and recover here this week. I really see the 420 level being a prevalent, probably a very likely level. If we don't get that, then it's probably going to be later in the week if we don't have some shift in weakness here and shift in volume, like it really starts to sell off, and we end up going really selling off down to the 380 level. Then we might have this in Monday, but I'm not anticipating it. So for me, I'm just anticipating 420, and going into the 422 level would probably be my initial target. I'm selling half, as always, off 420. I meant to change the color on my 422 level. So that would be my initial target at 422. With that level of resistance, that'd be my first level of resistance there would be 422, 422.64 range. That would be my initial sell, or sorry, my second sell, and my initial sell would be at the break here on my first half. So overall, that's going to be the main 4 watches this week. I do have side watches at Microsoft 413 and 410, MSTR at 330, and then Netflix 1000 upside, which may promote to a main watch if it approaches the correct manner, but it still is Netflix, so something to be completely aware of. And then Google, of course, at 2550, however, earnings. So not going to take that more likely. Again, guys, that's going to be it this week. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, as always, on any suggestions, ideas, and questions about trading and how you might want me to improve my videos, or any ideas on what anything it was I explained in the video. And I'll be sure to get back to you guys ASAP. Again, I offer one-on-one mentoring program per month basis, as well as just standard one-on-ones to educate how to become a completely profitable trader and maintain consistency and establish your edge, and then hone in on that and refine that to eventually become a full-time profitable day trader and do this full-time like I do. So go ahead and DM me, guys, if you're interested in that. Otherwise, let's do a great job this week, guys. Stick tight to your stops, stick tight to your targets. Really important. Highest quality setups, hyper selectivity, as always. And let's kill it this week, guys. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.